My wife actually says it the best. So she's not from here. I brought her here from a much bigger area. She's from the Woodstock, Canton area.
Okay.
And when she got here, she really was nervous at first. And she got to know people by joining things and being active, and me kind of pushing her a little bit, trying to get her to be active and everything. And she said that she didn't realize until she got here and been here 2 years what community really was. And living in a small town and having a community that we have here is just so different than everywhere else.
Yeah. Welcome to the Americus podcast, where we pursue what it means to become a next level neighbor, creating a place we enjoy with the people we love. I'm your host, John Schroeder, and today I'm sitting down with Jimmy Whaley. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Absolutely. So excited to be here. I've listened to all the podcasts and I'm super excited I get to be a guest. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, when I first came into Americus, I saw Whaley signs everywhere. And so I was like, what is going on? So, and the great thing is I always see you in town, being active, being in the city, going to the events, being at the theater, being in First Friday. So just thank you so much for just all the investments that you do, all the things that are behind the scenes, the sponsorships that you do. It really is inspiring to people that are coming in to say, how much are people truly investing? And you are one of those people that are always on the top of the list. So again, thank you so much for just doing so much for this community.
Yeah, I love this community, and anything that I can give back, I always try. I've been very blessed by being here, being from here, and it's been wonderful. I love this place.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. So we talked, you filled out an online form. You weren't born here, but you go back generations here. So tell me a little bit about your family, about Americus, and just kind of how you were brought in to this wonderful city.
That's right. My dad's side of the family has been here for multiple generations, whether here or kind of down towards Dawson and, this whole little area right around. But my grandparents on my dad's side both graduated from Americus. My dad graduated from Americus. Both my uncles on that side did. My mom and her side of the family moved here in the 70s from South Florida. And my mom and her sister graduated from Southland, and I ended up graduating from Southland. So the first 2 years of my life, I was in Alpharetta, but so I wasn't technically born in Americus, but roots go back a long way. And, after you don't remember what happened in the first 2 years of life. So I say I'm from Americus my whole life because that's all I remember.
That's right. That's right. Do you ever feel any pressure knowing that there's so many generations that have been here that you're just continuing on with this tradition?
Not really. But I do think that, being from the small town and growing up this way, it's really shaped who I am with people. And I think that most of my family members are the same way. And so growing up with other people in that same mindset where they wanted to get to know people instead of walking into a restaurant and not saying hey to anybody,
that's right.
That's just a different world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that, as soon as you said that, being shaped by kind of that small town. I mean, we talk a lot about that on the podcast, but what does that mean to you, kind of being shaped by small town? When you think about what are like 3 words that really reflect that to you?
So 3 words is a hard one for me, but I will say that my wife actually says it the best. So she's not from here. I brought her here from a much bigger area. She's from the Woodstock, Canton area.
Okay.
And when she got here, she really was nervous at first. And she got to know people by joining things and being active, and me kind of pushing her a little bit, trying to get her to be active and everything. And she said that she didn't realize until she got here and been here 2 years what community really was. And living in a small town and having a community that we have here is just so different than everywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. We use the term a lot. There's a lot of things in our world that are very transactional in our relationships. What can you do for me? But man, when you find these transformative relationships, people that are willing to get in the mess with you, where sometimes you don't benefit them at all, and yet they're still right there next to you. that's something that's truly special. And you want to definitely continue with that. So, all right. So tell me a little bit about just kind of growing up, your personality. What kind of kid were you? What were you into?
So, I'm a big dude and I'm really slow, but I still love sports a lot. So I played a lot of sports, golf and football and baseball and all of it growing up. And later in life, in high school, I played football and golf and I wrestled.
Okay.
Shattered my leg when I was 16, wrestling,
Wow.
spent a couple months in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. What was that like? I mean, what was that moment like?
That was, it was the last tournament of the season before baseball tryouts. And while I'm laying on the mat with a broken leg and my old coach, Jack Harris, is sitting over top of me, all I could think of was, man, I'm going to miss baseball tryouts next week. And I know that sounds crazy, but it was just one of those things that the adrenaline had taken over and it was very badly disfigured, but life moved on and I got a plate and screws and wires and everything else. And
wow.
Just rehab.
Do you remember what the move was or what was going on? Did it happen so fast?
I was trying to throw a head and arm and the guy sat down and it just snapped. And your natural reaction when you're a wrestler is to go to your stomach instead of your back. So it also snapped sideways. And so it was it was not a fun time in my life, but it happened. And
all right. So so that was at that point, did you ever want to try to get back into kind of the sports and the careers, or do you feel like God was kind of shifting you, or you just felt shifted in some different directions? What
I still went right back into football that fall. So I broke my leg in January, and then in fall in August, I was right back on the football field, long snapping for the Raiders, and I had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that I was really passionate about the school and the athletics. And when I was a senior, I won Mr. School Spirit with my fellow classmate,
Nice.
Miss Kate Fussell, who won Miss School Spirit. So we were all about it, man. It really was a good time in high school.
That's awesome. So were you thinking about kind of future career, or were you just really just enjoying high school? And then how did you kind of decide on what the next step was for you out of high school?
Yeah. So I always thought I wanted to be an attorney. I grew up in a farming family. Never really got into farming in any way. I worked there every summer, but that was about it.
Yeah. In what particular farming? I mean, what?
So my grandfather, he did beans and everything else.
Okay.
Lots of produce down in Florida, but here locally we had cows, and so I grew up with cows every day, and that was a lot of fun.
Helping birth cows, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was good times. The shots, they'd pull me out of school to make sure that I was there to help on shot day and, all that. But, I always thought I wanted to be an attorney, and I went to Valdosta thinking that I was going to go to law school. And I realized when I was in college that it wasn't for me. I just didn't want to go that much more school.
So wanting to be an attorney, it would seem like your personality would be very, I wouldn't say confrontational, but you would have like, hey, I've got a list of all the things that I know what to do and what not to do. And, I got a list of reasons why I did all these things. Were you kind of that kid that just kind of knew everything? And
so I know this sounds weird, but I actually wanted to be a judge. So at Southland, when we did a career interest program, we got to go spend a week with people, and I did it with the Superior Court judges.
Okay.
And so I spent a week with the Superior Court judges, and I loved it. I love the idea of trying to help people with their next steps instead of just throwing the book at everybody, and I felt like I've always kind of been one of those people that can hear people out and try to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where does that come from? Like that's a value that you have. Where does that come from?
I really don't have a good answer for that. I know that, growing up, right and wrong was always taught very specifically and directly from my grandfather. And my mom and dad, they both, have a good sense of life and direction, and they both help guide me along the way, with Whaley and Susan doing the same. So,
So was there ever a moment that you were just like, that was unjust, and like, I need to help out with this?
Yeah. I mean, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So you go from high school, or do you go straight into college? Kind of what's your career path? What are your thoughts on?
Yeah. So, my senior year of college at Valdosta, I was taking a real estate law class, and I kind of enjoyed it. I ended up with a paralegal, legal assistant studies major was my major. And so I learned a lot about going to the courthouse and searching the records and doing all that kind of stuff. And really got to take a couple real estate law classes and really enjoyed it. And coming back to Americus, because I knew that's where I wanted to be, I was trying to think of what I could do that we needed. And at the time, there were not very many appraisers. And so I actually went to Woodstock, Georgia. This is way before I knew my wife, and took a class to get my appraiser's license. Because, you know, why not go up there? You just graduated college, went up there, took the class. And the lady, Nora Monahan, was my teacher. And she said, you know what, Jimmy, you can stay another 2 weeks and get your salesperson's license. I really think you would be really good at selling real estate. Wow. And that thought had never crossed my mind. Wow. I was going to be an appraiser, period, end of story. And Nora was like, well, why don't you do it? So I did. And still to this day, that was 13 years ago. I've never appraised a single piece of property. Wow. Yep. So one person pointing me in that right direction. Just thinking about that is just like, how powerful can that one moment be where you just see something in someone else, you know, where you didn't necessarily, you weren't thinking that. And someone just kind of said, hey, I see something in you. And that's a powerful thing. And so, I mean, just the encouragement of knowing that the things that we could say could make a huge impact on people's lives. Absolutely. Sure. All right. So, but I'm interested. So you leave, you go to Valdosta. Why come back to Americus? The people. It is that simple. To me, the people in Americus, the relationships that I've built throughout my life, the people that are still here, and now the people that have come back. I mean, it is, to me, the people are just wonderful here. Now, don't get me wrong. I have friends all over the state. I have great friends in the Athens area and in Atlanta and in Valdosta and everywhere else. But the people here, I just always knew that this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to be right here in Americus. That's awesome. I love that. All right. So you get back here and you start working. When do you meet your wife? Like, when does that come? So, 2013, my mom accidentally friended my wife on Facebook because she was friends with our mutual friend, Alex Riccardi. And she was looking at a picture and she accidentally friended her. And she called me freaking out, like, I accidentally friended this person. How do I unfriend somebody? And I was like, well, don't unfriend them. And then I was like, who was it? And so I sent a message to Morgan, who's my wife. And I said, I'm sorry, my mom friended you. And it started as a conversation right then and there. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, did you hope that it would kind of go somewhere? No. Alex had always tried to introduce us, but we were never like single at the same time and that kind of thing. And so it just never worked out. But Alex and I go way back to like 4-year-old. And so she knew the type of person that I always dreamt of, and Morgan was it, and it just never worked out. And then all of a sudden, you know, a random message on Facebook turned into, I love this, almost a 10-year marriage now and 2 kids. Man, so, congratulations, man. Nice. That's awesome. I love it. I'm very blessed. I love it. All right. So tell me, so you're in real estate, you become, what's your first sale? Like what's that experience like? It was kind of surreal, you know. I'm fresh out of college. I will say the one thing about real estate that nobody really tells you is it's really hard to get someone to trust you with probably the biggest financial decision they have ever made, especially when you're 23 or 24 right out of college and you've never made that decision for yourself. It is a very, very difficult thing. I was very blessed at where I started to have a wonderful broker that really helped me out, you know, held my hand through the first several transactions to make sure I'm doing things the right way, you know, because what you learn in real estate school to pass the test teaches you absolutely nothing about how to sell real estate. It just tells you how to not go to prison. So, right. So there a lot of that relational component, right? Oh yeah. And you're in Americus. Are you selling to friends, to family? Or are you just selling to strangers? Like what
What typically do you find yourself selling to?
Strangers. What's a stranger?
That's right.
Man, I'm at the point where, I try to talk to everybody. I don't care who you are. I want to know your story.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in love with this podcast. That's why I've listened to so many, a lot of people that I've known for many years. I've learned so much more because of hearing them on your podcast. And so I love that. But, I've sold to everyone, family, friends, people I've never met that randomly called, we get a lot of people moving here out of state because our real estate's cheaper, than a lot of other places.
Yeah.
And, you just kind of get good at talking to different people and understanding what they really want, because just because they say they want something, they may really may not understand what they really want until you show them.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So it's very interesting. Sure.
Yeah. I'm interested over the last 10 years, 13 years, what kind of has changed as far as the real estate and how do you communicate that?
Man, it's totally different than when I started. So I started selling in 2012. And
who are you selling with? I mean, you were a part of a company? Did you start your own business right away? Or
no.
what?
So in Georgia, you have to sell under a different broker for 3 years.
Okay.
That's a requirement.
Okay.
And then once you get to that 3-year mark, then you can sit for the broker's test if you would like. And that's when you can actually go out on your own.
Okay.
So 3 years and 1 day, I took my broker's test.
Okay.
Got my broker's license in 2015. And, I ended up staying where I was from 2015 or from 2012 until 2019. I was at Century 21 here in town. And, then in 2019, I decided to go out on my own and open Whaley Realty. Yeah. And, I love it. I'm very grateful for what was taught to me and all the time and effort that was put into helping me get where I am today. And, but I just was ready to try something new. And I'm glad I did.
I feel like it's so far away now, but we still have conversations about 2020 and 21 with COVID. What was that like in the real estate business? Well,
first, I had just opened my office in August of 2019 and then COVID hit.
Yeah. And
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, well, nobody's going to let us in their house. So we'll never sell another house, and, I'm sure like everybody else, we were, wiping groceries off and doing everything else. It was an interesting world. And then the real estate market exploded. People got tired of sitting in their house. They realized what they hated about their house once they sat there for a month without leaving. It was an interesting time, and, it was crazy. And still to this day, real estate is so drastically different than it was prior to 2019. Back then there were hundreds and hundreds of homes on the market. When you would call me to go look at houses, we would go look at 10 or 12 houses. Now you look at 1 to 2 houses and you better be ready to put in an offer.
Yeah.
And that's
a big change.
It's a huge change, and it completely changed the way that we had to think about real estate here locally and everywhere. I have friends all across the state when it comes to that. But here locally, it's drastic. It is night and day in the way that we market and the way that we sell. It really is.
Wow. So I would think, from your first sale to, this last sale, people now are calling you because another person knew you and they had a great experience. And so they're calling. So what is that experience coming from? I'm young. No one's going to buy for me, to now I'm getting recommendations from other people. I've never even met people, and people are putting that trust in me right off the bat. what is that experience like?
Honestly, there's not many better feelings than somebody referring you. Honestly, it is like, okay, well, that means I did a good job. And that makes me so happy. To me, it's the highest compliment in real estate is for someone to say, man, Jimmy did a really great job. I think you should call him. And I've been very blessed to have a lot of that, over the years. And the relationships that I've built, I think, people have understood that I put a lot into what I do most of the time. And I try to build that relationship, not just as a transaction. As you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
Life sometimes is transactional. I try my best to make selling real estate just transactional. It is a relational, and that is very, very forefront on what I try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know I've met through the podcast or through others. There's an entrepreneurial spirit here in Americus. There are a lot of people that want to do something, want to build something. You have built something, and entrepreneurs, like you said, whether we go to school or we don't, there's just certain things that you're just unaware of as you step into becoming a business, right? You can't just have an idea. Like, you have to have a business plan.
Yes.
Right. And then you've got to present that to others and investors. And then you've got to buy property, and then you got to renovate that property. So what would you say to young entrepreneurs that are here in Americus that want to start something that you've noticed just through over the past few years that would be helpful to them?
So one thing I did, and I strongly recommend a lot of other people doing, is I actually wrote my business plan, and I went and spoke to about 8 people. I'm not going to name them, but you know who you are, and thank you very much. But I went and spoke to them and said, here's what I'm thinking. Here's why I believe that this can be successful. Here is my plan. Critique it. Critique it hard. I want to know. I want you to make me think about things that I'm not thinking about. And I'm very grateful for those people that actually took the time, sat down with me, heard me out, read the business plan, and gave me critiques, because it taught me so much to be prepared for up front.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that you got to have insurance, and you've got to have a place to put your building, and you've got to have the deposit for the water, and those kind of things. But it's the little things like, how much toilet paper you're going to have to buy. And I know that might sound silly, but if you don't think about those kind of costs up front, the business has a much better chance of failing than succeeding. Yeah. And so I was very blessed to have some really wonderful people that took the time. And one thing I learned through that was there's a lot of people that are willing to help if you're just willing to ask. Yeah. And there is a lack of people being willing to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I've seen that. I've seen this. You're very vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there. Your desire is for them to really put trust in your work, and put trust in your ability to get that done. And so tell me a little bit about, have you stepped into Americus, and what are some things that have been challenging to you in this business, or just being a part of Americus? What are some challenges that you've noticed?
I'd say one challenge right now that we're having in real estate is there's just not enough inventory. And the problem with not enough inventory is we're not building a whole lot of it right now. The price point where we're at locally for resale doesn't leave a lot of room for many developers to come in and build homes. Right now there's one neighborhood getting built, and there needs to be more, in my opinion. But the problem is the area is so used to such a low price point that it feels high when numbers are going up, and they have gone up. I think from 2023 to 2024, they went from in Americus, the average sales price was 161 to 180.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a big jump in a year. But at the same time, it still doesn't leave a lot of room for a developer to make money. And the sad reality is a developer's not going to come in here to lose money.
Yeah.
And so it's a problem that we are going to continue to face until we have more building here. Yeah. Whether that means being able to build smaller homes, because not everybody wants to live in a 2,000 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath. Some people want to live in 400 square feet. And it's not for me. I'm a big dude and I don't fit in 400 square feet very well, but there's a lot of people that's what they would dream of living in. Yeah. And so I just think there's a lot of opportunity there that if we could find a way to incentivize people to build, different types of places, it would be very beneficial for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I mean, when you're describing these things, earlier you mentioned about just going to people with your business plan. There's a sense of humility with that. There's a sense of vulnerability with that. Where does that come from? Because a lot of times, I think we're missing that in our society. A lot of times, a lot of people are very energetic. They're ready to go, but sometimes it's hard for them to take criticism. So where do you get that from?
My grandpa, Whaley, he opened and ran many businesses, and he had a very much an entrepreneurial spirit. And the one thing he always taught me, like forever, was, you can listen to 10 people, even if you don't agree with a single word that those 10 people said, that's fine. It never hurts you to listen to them. And that was kind of hammered into me at a young age. And because of that, like, I know that I'm not always right. And I know that I'm going to make mistakes, and there's going to be things I miss. And I'm so open to hearing what other people have to say. And that's, in all parts of life, not just real estate.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things we've talked a little bit on the podcast before, but certain things like social media has made it very difficult, I think, to have good conversations, right? Where you could read even a text. A text can come off with a wrong tone, and it wasn't intended that way. And so these face-to-face interactions, being able to see your eyes, being able to know that you actually care for me, is so important. And that's one of the things I do love about Americus is, if I were to email someone, I'm not going to get a response. If I were to call somebody, I probably will get them. But if I go and I go see them, man, it's like, what can I do for you?
Yeah. And as a millennial, everybody talks about my generation and they say, oh no, they just like to text. No. Just send them a text or an email. I want you to pick up the phone, call me.
Yeah.
Period. Like that is how I work. Either come see me in person or pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah.
I don't want the text. I don't want the emails. And on my website, when you're either interested in buying or selling, I ask the question on both, what is your preferred method of contact?
Yeah.
And that's because I want to meet people where they want to be met in that aspect. And for me, just pick up the phone or come see me.
Yeah.
And I know that makes me a non-millennial when it comes to that, but that's just the truth, So I'm with you totally on that.
Yeah. I love that. Well, let's talk a little too, just about your family. Your wife, you said Morgan,
yes,
right? Morgan, you have 2 kids.
Yep.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your kids.
Yeah. So, one's 4, his name's JW.
Right.
And then Finley is almost 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did they enjoy the snow?
JW loved it.
Yeah.
Finley was not a fan. So the 4 of us didn't really get to go hang out outside very often. Morgan and I had to keep tag teaming each other in for one of us to go play with JW outside because he wanted to be out there the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was talking with somebody Sunday and they said it's like 130 years since it's gotten to that degree. And so, my daughter had been praying for snow. And so I remember taking a picture, of it when she had like 2 or 3 flakes at like 12:40. And so I was like, all right, this is it, baby. I'm going to take the pictures. This is what we're going to get here in Americus. Right. Let's enjoy what we got. And it was just really, really, it was a really amazing time the last 2 or 3 days, in that. So, but yeah, so tell me a little bit about, so what does Morgan do? What do y'all do for fun? What is life outside of real estate?
Yeah. So Morgan, she actually works at Georgia Southwestern.
Okay.
And so she's been there. This is her first year as a lecturer. She's teaching in the Department of Education, or the Education Department. But she loves it. I'm super excited about it. She's happy, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And but as far as fun, we go to parks a lot. There are so many parks in Americus. There, our favorite is there's one Muckley Park that the city owns and maintains. And then there's one a little out farther, out 280, kind of back up in a neighborhood that's almost brand new that Tim and his crew with the county built. and it's got turf down, and it is a really awesome park. It's got a walking trail around it and a basketball court and all that. And, a lot of folks don't know about parks like that. And we love them. Our boys, we can just go out there and they run and play and get some of that little kid energy out that I wish I had. And, it's awesome, man.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you about that because we were just talking about it before we started the podcast, just about your love for Americus. And again, I mean, your investment into Americus, I always see you sponsoring things. I mean, you truly want people to be taken care of here, to know that the initiatives that people are starting here, that you're behind them. And so, tell me some things about Americus that you truly enjoy, that you want to keep shining a light on.
Yeah. So, Main Street is incredible. There's every month there's something, and most months there's more than one thing. And I think the K1 and his crew do an incredible job with that. On top of that, the Rylander always has something going on. There's always parks. There's always walking trails. I mean, there's, 3 Frisbee golf courses. There's one regular golf course, or 2 regular golf courses, excuse me.
Yeah.
Sumter County has a lot going on. And with the rec department having an incredible gymnastics facility and the basketball facilities and everything else, there's, and I don't know if you know this, but there's 6 pickleball courts coming.
I did not know this.
Yes, there's 6 pickleball courts coming right in front, on 19, right in front of the building at the rec department. They're probably 80% done now.
Oh, wow.
And so they're opening shortly. I don't want to give a date because I'm not Tim, but it's awesome, man. There's a lot of cool stuff here to do all the time. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think too, I mean, one of the things I love about this area is that when there are things that are going on, like for example with GSW, I get information about what's going on, the dates that are going on. And so we're a big supporter of the sports and just love to go to these games. And it gets exciting when we really get out there. So let's talk a little bit also about, you had mentioned that one of your references of your favorite movies, right, was Remember the Titans. And like that would be a resource for Americus just to remember those things. So what lessons did you learn from that particular movie that made you write that as a means to be?
Well, I think that there's, for many years, there's been a lot of division in Americus, whether it be race or socioeconomic status or so many different things. Together is how we're going to go forward. And I think that's why I said that, remember the Titans. I'm sure no spoiler alerts or anything, but they come together as a team, and they learn how to work together. And to me, that's just such a powerful message that us as a community should really learn from.
When have you seen that done well in our community?
Well, I would say one of your first podcasts that you did was with Raven Payne, if I'm not mistaken. And Raven and Brock and Daryl had a group called 2040. I don't know if you remember all that.
I do.
So I was one of the board members for 2040, and that was a wonderful group of people that really kind of brought different people together, young professionals together. And, we brought different speakers to come and talk on different mental health topics and different things like that. And that was some of the after hours events was really kind of cool. Just different groups of people that I didn't necessarily know well, and got to know people that I had seen and never really had the opportunity to get to know. And so that was wonderful. That was a great group, and I hope one day we can see that again. I think that with a lot of the different organizations, I'm a member of Rotary Club, and I know you had Kim on a couple podcasts ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
She talked about it a little bit, but Rotary does a lot of great things in different parts of the community, and has built relationships with different people and different groups. And I love my wife calls me a serial volunteer because I do it a lot. But I love our community. And to me, that's my way of giving back. It's not all just being about, the dollars and cents. Sometimes it's about the work.
Yeah.
And,
tell me about some of these volunteer opportunities that you've done that even still go on, throughout the year that even other people can join up with.
Yeah.
And again, that's another way to be involved in our city and be active, right?
That's right.
Even volunteering can be fun and,
that's
enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, things like the Rotary Club and the Kiwanis Club, they both have speakers that come in and talk every week. And generally we learn about what's going on in our community from the different speakers. Mm-hmm. We have different, points of view, whether it be from Tim at the rec department or one of the coaches or, maybe somebody from the hospital. And it's really wonderful to get to hear all that. But then, I'm a member of the Smart Smith Foundation Board as well. And we raise money for local law enforcement, for the GSW PD, Americus PD, and the Sumter County Sheriff. And we've done a wonderful event every year trying to help raise the money for them so they can buy more protective equipment after what happened. And, to also honor Jody and Nick that passed in the line of duty and just keep their memory full force. I think a lot of wonderful things are going on in Ignite College and Career Academy. I think that's a wonderful program. I'm on the board over there. And what they're teaching and the way that they're helping young people learn the skills of life is really, really wonderful. And I think that not everybody necessarily is going to agree with what I'm about to say, but I think one thing about that doesn't get talked about enough is if you go in there and you're learning, let's say nursing, right? You choose the nursing pathway. You can learn in high school that maybe that's not for you. Mm-hmm. So you don't waste time in life.
Yeah.
And so that's such a benefit that I don't think it's talked about enough. I know a lot of these people are getting paid in high school to work these jobs and you're getting credits for it. And I think it's awesome in so many ways, but I really think that one piece is something that's always stuck with me that, if you can try something out in high school and you learn you don't like it, then you're not going to waste time in college and get into more debt by going to college for something that you're going to hate in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's huge. Mm-hmm. And the way people can help out on that is you as a company can take those high school kids and teach them, as part of their credits and they can work for you. And, it's called work-based learning is one of the pathways, and that's a wonderful way. There's a lot of companies here locally that have signed up and do that. And it's really awesome. Great. I get to go to a banquet every year that they have in December. In May, where they award the business of the year and all that kind of stuff. And it's so cool to get to see these kids that have had the opportunity to work with these companies all year, and they've learned so much. And people like Reagan Barksdale over at TSG, he has done a really wonderful job of, he brings in people to help teach them on top of working at the actual TSG.
Okay.
And so teaching them business and teaching them life skills on top of what they're already learning. So I think that is one thing that it really would benefit so many people if they would just look into it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work for everybody, but it's something that if you own a business, that why not take a little bit of time out of your life and just see if it's something that can fit what you do,
Yeah. I love that. And I just think about, I remember growing up and I didn't feel like I had a lot of options that were presented to me, which was fine. I mean, there's so many options now. I don't even know how you pick. I mean, it's just like when you have too many, I think there's actually a psychological thing. If you have too many options, it just freezes you. And so having a couple people come into your life that notice certain things, even like your life, notice certain things about you, your personality, what you can, how you can add value to your society, to your community. And then just saying, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you consider that? And then just allowing them to be able to exercise those things for a little bit, I think will be very, very helpful. because it's not a lot of times I hear, even from the young crowd of, I say young crowd, I'm about to be 40 years old. I guess I can say that now. But like, what do you want to be when you grow up? There's just like, I don't know. Or it's, I want to be an influencer, or I want to be, and so just trying to help say, well, what would it look like? How would you be able to do that? What is a business plan, and how to do that? So I think it's very important that we continue to invest into these kids and youth. So, all right, well, let's talk a little bit about kind of moving towards the kind of the future of Americus, whether it's within real estate and things. Now you did bring a piece of paper. I don't know if we've already kind of went through some of those things, so we're good on that. Mm-hmm. All right. But when we're talking about the future of Americus, if you could, wave, a magic wand and just say, hey, these are the things that would be helpful for Americus in the future, what would kind of unite Americus right now? What are some shared values or goals? Let me say it that way.
What would unite Americus?
Yeah.
I think that people need to kind of see the bigger picture and see that we don't have enough homes here, mm-hmm. and that we do need to have some more built. And I think that there's lots of locations that could happen within the city and outside of the city. Mm-hmm. The problem with outside of the city limits is there's not public water and public sewer. And so that makes it more expensive for developers, right?
Gotcha.
So in the city is where more development can happen easier, mm-hmm. right? And so we've got a lot of really great places, businesses that have put money here in the community. And I know that they need more workers and more people to live here to work in these places. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to find a way to unite together in the understanding that we might have to get creative on how to allow certain types of buildings to get built here and certain types of homes.
Because you see it, right? I mean, me coming from a person who is not in the real estate business, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know all the intricacies of it. So I'm on the outside going, hey, I think we should build homes like this, But you're in the market. You understand what's going on around you, and you care about this community. It's not like you just want to build homes. No. You want to do things just because you want to make money. It's, no. I actually care about this community. I want it to win. I want it to be 10, 15 years from now. I want it to continue to thrive. I don't want it to continue to see anything negative go. So tell us a little bit about just that heart behind that. And then what you're describing when you're describing the future of Americus.
Yeah. I really think the future of Americus is continue to pour into the two colleges, well, the university and the college that we have. And I think we got to continue to pour into Phoebe, Sumter, because without a hospital here in town, this place just got scary, in my opinion. And I think the hospital's vital for our community. I think that the colleges are vital for our community. And I think that all three of them do a really wonderful job of being community partners. Mm-hmm. I think that when people think of Americus, that's three of the first, 5 or 6 things they think of, and I think the Windsor is one. Mm-hmm. And the folks that redeveloped the Windsor, the Patels, and now the new group that owns it, I think they've all done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
I think the fact you can take an old building like that and continue to make it better and better, is pretty amazing if you really think about it. When I bring people to town, they go in there and they see the hotel and they're just like, wow, this is wild. And, I think continuing to build on what we do have, mm-hmm. instead of everybody just wanting new things, I know I see on the different groups and everything, oh, we need a bowling alley, or, oh, we need this. Look, I would love a bowling alley, but nobody's going to build one because it's really expensive and the profit margin's not great on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you've got to have more people to have more buy-in to be able to do those kind of things. And I think that there are opportunities. And I think that we have a lot of people that call us as agents and call different people in the community and ask questions about the community, mm-hmm. To get a sense of whether they should bring their business here.
Yeah.
I can What do they
say?
I can tell you that there's been a lot of discussion about different parcels and things like that, where, I mean, there's developers that have spent a lot of money trying to bring stuff here, and then it got nixed in the last second by whomever it may be. And all of those would have been more jobs and more things to do. But the problem is they're going to get on those social media platforms and they're going to check out what's going on. And when everybody's being so negative about what we don't have, instead of being positive of what we do have, it really hurts the opinion of Americus.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, and I'm not calling any individuals out in particular, but it's one of those things that,
but like you said, I mean, if an investor is coming here, they want to know the heart of the city. They want to, and again, they may not get into some of the conversations that we've had with other people that are really amazing people, but they're just kind of looking at the surface level and they're going, you're asking me to invest $1 million here and bring people here. And if I'm just going to drive around the town and I just see what I see, is this somewhere where I want to put my flag down? And we've got to be prepared for that. And we've missed out on some of these opportunities. Absolutely. Is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And quite often, I will have different people in different positions for different businesses that the business is trying to recruit, and they'll call an agent and they'll say, hey, go give them a community tour. And so I drive them around and I take them to, show them, hey, here's our downtown. You know what's awesome about our downtown? There are not a single restaurant that is a chain. They are all local. Yeah. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
All of these are local restaurants. The only chain we have in Americus that's a sit down is Ruby Tuesdays, right? Mm-hmm. And so the rest of it is local. And I try to sell that as much as possible because it's true. And when you go to Pat's that it's Pat.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go to Roman Oven, it's the folks that are always there, and they're wonderful humans.
Yeah.
And,
that's good.
And that, like YL and his family are always going to be at Hero City. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things that I try to sell, local being so superior to chain. And to me, I believe it with my whole heart that instead of wanting a Longhorn, the station's got an incredible steak, and so does the Windsor.
Yeah. And,
I get it that some people, that's not for them, but give them another try, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love the local restaurants. Yeah. I think it's such a benefit. And, I did a little video series on local foodie. And
nice.
You got to check that out one of these days.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah. Send me the link. So tell me a little bit about, again, I've been here, interviewed over 60 people now, and just to kind of get just the sense of what makes Americus Americus, right? What are the values? What are the ingredients of Americus? How would you describe kind of the values that make Americus Americus in good ways, but also in not so good ways where maybe we are missing out on some of these opportunities?
Yeah, you asked the hard-hitting questions, that's for sure. I would say Americus is Americus because there's so many people who care. And it doesn't matter whether you're going to the Smarsmith Gala or Hometown Heroes Gala, or you're going to the Gold Force Gala, or you're going to any of these events. People show up because people care. They always want to care about our community, no matter what avenue that it may be through. They care. And not everybody is able or willing to help financially, and not everybody is able or willing to help physically, like by actually doing things, but as long as you have a great mix of both of those, I think that's really the heart of Americus. There's always people that are willing to give. There are always people willing to work. There are always people that want just a little bit better. Yeah. Like the first year that the Americus Hot Glass Craft Beer Festival happened, it was a great experience for a lot of people. And then it got better. Yeah. And then it got better.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, that's one of those things that was something that brought a lot of people here, brought a lot of money to the community, and it still does.
Yeah.
And it shows to me the way that our community works together to make things just a little bit better. Because you know what? I hate to break it to everybody, but we're not going to have, you know, a Longhorn and an Outback and all of them at one time, like everybody seems to want.
Yeah.
But if we can continue to support our local restaurants, they're going to continue to get better.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it's like, Sweet Georgia Bakery. I mean, they've done a wonderful job and they keep getting better every day. I feel like, you know, and I don't know. I think that's kind of the glue that holds Americus together is everybody wants, and is so many people, not everybody, but so many people are willing to make a little bit of a sacrifice to make everything better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed that too, that as people come here, as I've moved in the last 2.5 years, and I've said this a few times, but there seems to be a wave. And that doesn't mean that there's dramatic change coming. It just means that there's an opportunity for us to settle in and to see some amazing things happen. And I've been really thinking and meditating on, you know, after President Carter has passed, like, what is the new, like, who are we? Who is Sumter County? You know? And so trying to figure out, what value is Americus in Sumter County? What do we value? And how do we actually, in layman's terms, how do we market that to others in a way that's like, you want to be here because this is it. So helping us to better identify those values that bring us all together, no matter where we came from and what our social status is or financial, we're all here because of this. I think that would be super huge. Because I think people are looking for places like Americus, especially with, you know, being able to work off site. Americus is a great place if you want to live in Atlanta. If you want to work in Atlanta, live in Americus, go 2.5 hours, 3 hours for the beach. You can go 3.5 hours to Savannah. Like, this is a central location for a lot of really cool things. And then you still got that hometown feel.
Absolutely.
Right. So obviously we could continue to talk about this. We talked a little bit about the colleges and even about the future of those and how we can, again, continue to better work together as downtown and just as neighbors. So what's one thing we talked a little bit about, kind of the bigger picture? What's one thing you do as a neighbor that would be encouraging for someone else? Say, hey, think about this. When we're talking about being a next level neighbor, a good neighbor, what's something that you do that would be encouraging to others to say, hey, try this out. If you just want to kind of take that next step.
You know, I would say something that the folks that where I live, we're really good neighbors for each other a lot of times. And I mean that in a physical, because we are literally neighbors, not just community Americus people, but, you know, we all pay attention to the little things. Anytime, like we had somebody in my house, I'm not going to call any names, left a door open on the car. And we had a neighbor stop and tell us and just wanted to make sure everything was okay. To me, it's the little things like that. Something seems out of place, to keep an eye out for each other. I think that's a huge and sometimes overlooked thing. I think that people are so focused on themselves and so focused on what they have going on, which is vitally important. And I'm well aware of that, but it doesn't take very long to keep your eyes open. Yeah. And, you know, if you see something like that, you know, why not try to help, you know, and, little things, you know, I'm a real big believer on trying to do your best on little bitty things. So like, if you can do one thing a little bit better tomorrow than you did today, then do it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. One of the things I've been working on a lot is the gift of presence. Like right now, I mean, we're having a conversation, and we're both here. We're having a conversation. And I'm sure that we're constantly tempted to be thinking about other things and where we need to be and all these, but man, it's an encouraging thing when we get a chance to talk with our neighbors and new people and just go, like, I know my phone's probably going off right now, but I'm here. I'm here with you. And I've learned that from a few people over my life. Like, man, I would feel like should be way busier than what he's doing, but he's really giving me his time. Like, this is odd. And man, that's such an encouraging thing. And so anytime someone can, like you said, just notice the small things. And sometimes that means that we just have to, whether it's put away our phones or whether just kind of go sit outside and just look around and pay attention. So that's a really great encouragement for us. Well, like we do at the end of a lot of our podcasts is we do what we call rapid fire questions. So this is, again, you get a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And so let me go ahead and hit you with some of these. And again, if none of these are relevant to you, you just tell me the answer that you want to give me, right? So do you have a favorite book or an author?
Yes, Chris Voss.
Okay,
is fantastic. FBI negotiator.
Yes,
wonderful guy. And I would say him and Simon Sinek.
Yeah, Sinek or something.
Sinek,
yeah, Sinek. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, those are probably my two favorite authors. I've read most everything by both of them, and John Maxwell, and all those.
Man, their leadership stuff. Yeah. Simon's, he's awesome. I mean, he's just, I don't know, his whole thing about your why and all that. It's just,
and if you haven't checked out The Power of Broke by Damon John, that is a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, what's it?
Damon John he was on Shark Tank.
Okay.
He started FUBU. And, he wrote a book called Power of Broke.
Okay.
And it's really, really great. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll look
check it out.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay.
In the morning, I drink it black, nothing in it.
Nice.
Unless I go to Starbucks and then I have to put something in it. But
the
local Cafe Campesino, I drink it.
Nice.
Straight black.
Absolutely. All right. If you could have dinner with 3 people, living or dead, who would they be?
Definitely my grandfather, Whaley Smith. I wish he was still here. I would love to eat dinner with him. I would say I'd really enjoy eating dinner with Kirby Smart to pick his brain. I'm a huge dog fan.
I like it.
I've heard him talk in different places, but boy, some one-on-one time would be really kind of cool.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to go to any of the games this year? Or
I think I went to 8 this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it. I went to both of the Natties when we won out in LA and in Indianapolis.
How was that?
It was incredible, dude. I mean, just unbelievable. I cried like a baby, and I made the front page of the Marietta Daily Journal.
Wow.
Some person, actually his name's John Loud.
Yeah.
He took a photo of me crying in the stadium and sent it into the newspaper. And everybody else that was on the front page of the newspaper had their name. Well, they didn't know my name. So they just said dog fan crying after winning first title in many years. So I have that framed at my office. Of course.
I love it. That's fun.
And then the third one, man, my wife. I would love just every opportunity that we get to go. I love my boys. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that one-on-one time with Morgan is special, man.
That's awesome.
I love that opportunity.
Great answer, by the way.
Yeah.
Great answer.
I wasn't looking for that, Morgan. I just honestly, I love
That's awesome. All right. Beach vacation or mountains?
Yes.
Both?
Yes,
both.
Sure. I really don't like the beach itself, but I love the atmosphere of the beach. So I told you I broke my leg and got a bunch of plates and screws.
Yeah.
Walking on soft sand hurts a lot.
Gotcha.
If I do the beach, it's generally going to be the East Coast, St. Simons, Jekyll, that kind of area.
Yeah.
But I love the atmosphere of both of them. I love people. So I like being with the people around the pool looking at the beach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. What's your go-to comfort food? What do you like to eat?
Gladys's.
Okay.
Gladys's is my go-to comfort food. Anytime I'm having a bad day, I just pull up.
All your meetings are there. Everything's there.
Miss Tracy and crew, just they know what I'm there for, man. I love it. You got to end with a butter roll and a flat patty every time.
Love it. Early bird or night owl?
I'm a night owl.
Okay.
My boys are 5:15 a.m. boys.
Ready to go.
I'll be honest, I've really, really struggled with that. My wife and I, we tag team different mornings. One morning is mine, the next is hers kind of thing. Because 5:15's early.
Yeah. Now, are they coming up with good attitudes at 5:15, or are they coming in sluggish?
They want to eat.
Okay.
They ready to roll, and they are 1,000 miles an hour from then until the time we put them to bed.
Okay. Awesome. Are you a dog, cat person, animal?
I'm a dog person.
Okay. You have a few dogs?
I got one now. We lost one back in October.
Oh, sorry.
November. October. Yeah. She was the one that passed in October was an English Springer. She was 15 years old.
Okay.
And then we've got a Corgi that is 11 years old.
My wife would be so jealous.
Minnie Mouse Whaley.
She loves corgis.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So we only have a cat right now. We're going to do a dog at some point, but if it is going to be a dog, it's going to just be a Welsh Corgi.
They shed a ton. I don't know if you know that.
No,
my goodness.
Yeah, she had one for I think 17, 18 years. It was just a great dog. His name was Bud. He's a great dog. All right, last one. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
I would think that it would be to know what people are thinking, because I like that. But the movie, what is it? What women want? Yeah, What Women Want scared me from that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I would say maybe the power to add more hours in a day.
Yeah,
there you go.
Nice. Would you use them for work or would you use them for play?
I would probably do a little bit of both, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Awesome.
I love what I do. And not every day is wonderful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I love what I do. And some days I need more time than I have. But I also want to spend as much time I can with Morgan and the boys. And so, I'd love a couple extra hours. That'd be great.
Awesome. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Your heart for the city, your heart for people, is really encouraging to me. Again, I've been wanting this conversation, really since I moved in. It's like, man, I just want to meet this guy. I'm just so thankful for your investment, again, for encouraging people to come live here, to stay here, to invest here. And then again, all the volunteer hours, all of the things that you're doing, you're jumping into these board meetings. I've been a part of board meetings before. They're not as fun as you would hope. A lot of time there's just a lot of conversations. You just want to kind of get some things done. So thank you for continuing to do that. And, and like I said, we'll see each other at the next event. I'm sure of it. And,
That's right.
And we'll be praying for you, and hopefully we'll see some houses continue built, some infrastructure continue to work on in our city, expand maybe some of the water and the lights and out, and just continue to see this city thrive. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right. That was awesome.
That was nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.